How are you all doing this week?
Good.
Okay. Good,
Oh,
good,
good. What
good.
about you?
Doing okay. Yeah, been a crazy week, but that's life. Um, so let's open up the floor and let me know how your week has gone in terms of the homework, the non-judgmental um, approach to your own lives. Anybody can start. Did anyone do the homework?
I did.
Okay, great. Would you like to share?
Um, just trying to see the notes and things I did. Um, it's nice that the homework sort of does bring your attention to the the self-judgment that times you how often in a day I judge myself. Um, even not even seriously, like just but in words and words matter, you know. So not a harsh judgment, but a judgment. And so but I also know like it judging myself, I'm very aware that if in a day I have three people piss me off, then I have to look at myself. I give myself three. If there are two people in a day that are bothering me, it's like, okay, but that doesn't usually happen. But it's like two people, if second person, it's like, oh, and then if there's a third one, it's like, okay, what's going on with me? And it's usually about, some self-judgment with me. So I know the less judgmental I am with myself, I certainly that I'm much less judgmental of other people. So, and
Yeah.
in general, I'm far more judgmental of myself than others anyway. So it's good to be less judgmental of me because it just changes my energy around other people as well.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. And that's such a true statement too. And now it's about bridging that gap, right? Between not being judgmental of others and not being judgmental of yourself. And we begin to see that how interconnected we truly are, you
Yeah,
know. It's easier to make that leap. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share their experiences or thoughts? Just reflections is okay too.
I could share mine.
Yeah, great. That'd be wonderful.
Okay. So just before I do that, I just got some new glasses and I just had to put my other ones back on. So I just feel a little like cross-eyed right now. But anyway, so that's if you see me looking cross-eyed, that's why. It was interesting doing this letter of forgiveness to myself. Um, I realized that I have a lot more judgments about myself than I actually realized before. Um, and as I was writing them all down, I was like, wow, this takes up a lot of my like energy. Like I was like, holy crap, that's exhausting. Um, so and oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, no one said anything. You're all good.
Okay. Um, and then when I did, the question one, how might self forgiveness impact my self perception? Um, that was what I realized. I was like, wow, that's exhausting to constantly think of all these judgments over and over again every single day. And there was even more that I didn't even write down. It was just too many. Um, so that was good to realize. And then lastly, question two, how might non-judgment of self impact my perception of others was like Lisa, I realized wow, if I'm doing that much to myself, like how am I looking at the world? And I definitely think I judge myself more than I judge others for sure. Like, wow. And that's good. I'm glad I don't judge others as much. But anyway, it was a really good exercise and a really good realization. And So it's really important to be aware of that. And I'm hoping I can lessen that so I can free up some of my energy.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and that's the idea, right? Really freeing up the energy part of it and being able to, again, bridging that gap. And we're gonna take what we talked about last week and really refine it this week, um, in a practical way. Thank you, Christina. Gloria, did you want to share anything? No pressure, you don't have to, but if you have anything to say, floor is yours.
I did not do the homework. Although there was some situation and during the weekend, I think like my mom sent me like uh like a message because she's selling her old house. And then I just reply with like tons of like comments like, oh, this is great. And then I was telling her like, um here in the US, people even like paint their houses or even rent furniture to make it prettier so it's more attractive to sell it. And I was just like telling her like a lot of stuff. And then I totally say like, but you don't have to do it. I'm just telling you how it works here because like maybe you need to remove the old furniture so it doesn't look too old, blah, 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 whatever. And then she come back to me like, I noticed like a little bit of like, kind of like pushback or like I'm not in a rush to sell it, blah 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 blah. And then I'm just mentioning this because I don't know, like when I listened to her, I recognize this pattern that we always have and that we always like fight. But I don't know if and then I just thought myself, next time maybe I'm not gonna say anything, I'm just gonna listen to her. But I don't know if that's like judging myself for her reaction. You know what I mean? Like I'm allowed to speak, right? Like to say whatever. And if she reacts somehow, and then I'm judging myself for because what I say, she react the way that she react. Does that make sense a little bit? So I don't know if like if that's part of a judgment or not. You know what I mean? Like I was judging myself like I always do this with her. I always give her advice or information, like, or your dad is la la la, and I'm, well, maybe try, since we were little. Oh, your brother doesn't listen to me, okay, because you do, like I'm always like, and then I judge like in that moment this weekend, I was like, okay, like this is the pattern. Maybe I'm not gonna have to say anything. And this is because of, like, I was judging myself of giving information which is not asking for anything. So I don't know if that's like, I couldn't recognize if that was judgment, to be honest, like, or it's just is not, it's just like, this is the way it plays, like,
Yeah.
this is me talking and this is her talking. So I don't know if that's judgment.
Yeah, well, it really depends on, are you negatively judging yourself? Are you saying I shouldn't be giving advice? Or what we're talking about here is not so much noticing where we need to change. That's not a judgment, that's discernment. We talked a little bit about that last week. We just say, oh, that's not such a helpful behavior, right? But judging yourself would be like, I'm a bad daughter because I speak to her this way, or I'm constantly giving her advice or whatever. We can make adjustments in the way that we interact with people based on what feels appropriate, in a given situation, right? Maybe I'm not understanding clearly. Like, how did you feel you might be judging her or judging yourself? I'm sorry.
Because I was like, she's not asking me for anything, and I'm just like, why I have to be giving all these feedback, comments, suggestions, like.
Okay. Okay.
So I was
Good.
judging myself in like, Gloria, it always plays like this, like this is the relationship the whole time. Like if I like, that's why sometimes we fight, because like I have a point and then she has her point, but then like she didn't ask for it. You know what I mean? So like probably it's not judgment, probably is what you just say, like, or it's just like, because it's not like I didn't ask myself before sending the message, should I say this or not? Like I just, genuinely sent it. I thought it will be helpful, but after her reaction, I was like I shouldn't say anything because it always end up like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I judged myself in that moment, saying like, why did you do this? Like, but
Okay.
I'm not saying like, you're a bad daughter. I was just like, this is the pattern, like why.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds more like discernment. That sounds more like, hey,
Oh,
you're just quite like
okay.
that self-inquiry we were talking about, right? It's like, maybe I don't need to always offer advice or tell her what to do or whatever. And then you can make that adjustment, right? And the judgment is really about, am I a good person?
Oh, I
Right.
see.
And am I worthy? Am I loved? Am I loving myself? So to speak critically even of yourself when you feel you've done something um that may be non-virtuous or something, that's okay. As long as you're not like, you're a piece of shit, you're just saying,
Mhm.
hey, I didn't handle that so well. Or maybe in the future I don't need to give my mother advice. That's kindness that you're offering. You're encouraging yourself to grow in a different way. That's very different from judging yourself. Do you see the difference?
Understand. Yes, understand. Okay.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah,
Even
but
though
that's a
I will
great,
be like having a longer list of judgment, but no, like I will recognize it better. Okay.
right. So, and thank you for bringing that up. Like I said, the specifics are always really helpful. Um, Great. Okay, so today we're talking about self-talk. Self-talk mastery is the name of this week's course, or class. So, um, we want to talk about self-talk as it pertains to non-judgment, right? Because they do go hand in hand. We have to understand non-judgment before we can apply it to how we talk to ourselves. So Lisa touched on that a little bit about, sort of that internal dialogue that we have. And whether, judging ourselves, well, that has language attached to it. That might be some self-talk, right? So understanding non-judgment is so important before we get into the self-talk and how to work with self-talk. And self-talk is also a beautiful way to move us towards self-discovery and self-compassion, which we've talked about as well, right? How we talk to ourselves is what we begin to embody and really does play a part in our overall well-being. When you can speak to yourself kindly, when you can speak to yourself in a helpful way instead of a damning way or a judging way, it's so much easier. So easier said than done, right? So, so let's talk a little bit about self-talk. Yeah, let me bring this up here. Oops. Okay, so everybody can see the screen, right? All right. So let's talk a sec about where does self-talk come from? Okay. And I'm watching y'all, so if you have any questions, you can always just raise your hand if you want to pause me any point during this. So where does it all come from? Our first experience of self-talk comes from the voices that we hear as babies. These come from our parents, our caregivers, whether they come to us when we cry, what they say to us when we can understand language, the teachers that we encounter when we go to school, how they speak to us. These all begin to influence how we how we perceive ourselves. Siblings is another one, right? If we're living with siblings or anyone else in the household, when we're young, we're really paying attention to how are people interacting with us. As we get a little bit older, again, we still have the parents and teachers and siblings, but if you are involved in a church or a temple, some religion, your religious counselors, pastors, their influence also, we listen very carefully to what they say to us. Again, as we get older, our peers, our friends, that's where we might get into some peer pressure or friends saying, why are you wearing that? You know, stuff like that. We begin to question our choices. And of course, our ever famous society and the influence of society. And that could come through advertising, right? Whether they're not directly talking to us individually, but we are picking up on what is being sold to us as what we need to have. And certainly the news, for example, like what's going on in the world, keeping up with the Joneses, you know, if someone lives differently than I do, what does that say about me? These all influence our self-talk. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So what happens after we get all this input? The voices that we hear as children become what we consider to be ours. And we begin to conflate those, like any negative talk toward us with our true self. So if you're told as a child, you're ugly, you're stupid, and then you move out of the house, you start to hear you're ugly, you're stupid as your own true self telling you that you're ugly and stupid. Does that make sense? Right? Because they're not there anymore, but those voices are still there. Right. And so then we begin to believe in that negativity. And what we're going to talk about this in a minute, but really it's our small s self. Rather than looking at self-talk as negative and positive, we look at it as small s self-talk and capital S self-talk. We talked about that last week. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, so this graphic here, well, it always breaks my heart, but this really shows, you know, your words have power, so use them wisely, especially with children. So, as I was saying, when we think about self-talk, it's we see it everywhere. It's negative self-talk or it's positive self-talk. And what I'd like you to do is just shift based on the work we're doing. Think about it as small s self versus capital S self. Small s self is the ego that's concerned with the here and now of the minutia of life. The capital S self is our spiritual self, our eternal self, the highest self talking. So let's look at some examples. Small s self-talk, and some of this may seem familiar, and these are certainly not all of them, but these are just a few examples. The small s self-talk is you're not good at whatever. You're not good at speaking, reading, the job you do, being in relationships, whatever. That's the small s, saying there's something wrong with you, right? And that's the second one. There's something wrong with you, right? Or you're going to fail. What, and you can hear like, I'm nervous about this because you know you're going to mess it up. You're not as accomplished as so-and-so. That's the comparison trap. These are some small s self concepts. You're too this or you're not enough that. And that could be a physical trait. You're too, you know, your hips are too big, your stomach's too big, or you're not tall enough, right? Or you don't have pretty enough eyes, or you've got too many wrinkles, that kind of thing. Or, and this is one that we may feel in our deepest self, no one likes you or no one really loves you for who you are, right? So these are all, and you see, even as we go through this list, it feels icky, right? To go through and even read these things. So let's look at what the transformation would be to capital S. So if you're not good at this, the highest self says you'll learn how to do it. Right? You can always learn how to do the thing that you're not good at. There's possibility there. It's opened up. There's something wrong with you is you're unique. There's nothing wrong with you. You may be different from the people around you. You may show up in the world in a different way. You're going to fail. How about failure is going to help you learn new pathways and make you stronger? There is not one successful person in the world who hasn't failed dozens and dozens of times. That has to happen so that you can learn. Nobody just emerges from the womb and carries on, never ever making a mistake, right? Or ever failing. That's how we learn. And with the comparison trap self-talk, you're not as accomplished as so-and-so. You see somebody on social media or a friend or whatever. Your life path is yours only, and others will have theirs. And we're all here to learn what we're here to learn. Nobody is going to push you along your path but you. What other people have to deal with, you don't know because you're not really in their experience. So it doesn't make any sense to compare your life to theirs. So you're to this or not enough that. Remember, and this is where we talk about the physical judgments. Your physical being is the temple for your spirit. Honor it. And it's easy to say, yeah, well, I still think I need to get into better shape. You can absolutely do that, but do it with the support behind you as opposed to the shutdown energy of small f self-talk, right? That's the you're not good enough, keeps you small, keeps you tight. Whereas you could say, yeah, I would like to change my diet. I would like to exercise more. If you really want to do that, then you will find a way to make that work for you. It doesn't have to be the way other people do it. And then finally, the no one likes you, no one loves you thing. What we don't often realize is that we are liked or loved in ways that we may not see, because we are busy judging what it should look like to be liked and loved, right? Instead, we may not realize even the animals that we caretake love us, and that's energy, and that counts. The people in your life, your friends, your family, your partner, they may have their own ways of showing their love to you in a way that may not even be clear. So when we're working with these different ways that we talk to each other, it's really about this reframe. Can everybody see that reframe that's happening? Does it make sense? Okay, so because that's really what we're going to be working with today, is finding ways to talk to ourselves from the place of the highest self instead of from the place of the small s self, the ego self. So any questions about that? Or any yeah buts? I always like to ask for yeah buts. Yeah, but that's doesn't make sense. Or it does. I don't know. Any yeah buts or questions? Go ahead, Lisa.
No, not at all, except for the actual image that I was curious that the small s talk you have checks next to and crosses next to the big S ones. Whereas I know it's a silly thing, but to me it's like I want to put a check next to this is the good one on the right side. And but then it's
It was visuals. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I can certainly change that graphic for you, Lisa. That's a good point. That's a good point. It's one of those things where I use them as just little markers and like this is all right. I see the point.
It's a silly thing. It's just something
No,
that
it's
just
not silly. Not silly at all.
Yeah.
There you go. I appreciate you sharing that. No, it makes a difference. Beautiful. Okay, so how many people have heard of the idea of affirmations?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Most of us have. Now, the problem with affirmations is that they often, they imply something positive, which already puts pressure on us to say something to ourselves that's positive that we may or may not believe, right? So I want to share with you a quick video, very quick video of this, where I'm talking about this, to talk about why positive affirmations just don't work. Wait, let me make sure that, let me make sure, first of all, that I've got the audio going. Yeah, there we go. This is only a couple minutes, but, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Hi, it's Rachel from Rachel Astarte Holistic Psychotherapy. Let's talk about self-talk for a minute. Most of us know what that is. That's how we talk to ourselves, right? The voice that's in our head that tells us that we're good enough or we're not good enough. And we're very comfortable with talking about negative self-talk, right? That we're not good enough, smart enough, whatever enough, talented enough to do something. And we understand that that's a problem, that we can't keep talking to ourselves that way. But what we're not so comfortable with is the remedy to that, which is positive self-talk. So why aren't we comfortable with telling ourselves, you are good enough, you're fine? The reason is that we have taken it to an extreme, and something in our souls doesn't resonate with it. So, for example, you roll out of bed, your hair's a mess, you haven't brushed your teeth, and you encounter someone who says, you look great. Now, you know you don't look great. And so, of course, their comment is not going to resonate with you. So if you tell yourself, you're not smart enough to get this new job, but then you overcorrect and say, not only are you smart enough to get this job, you should run the whole company. That kind of affirmation is not going to resonate with you because it hasn't hit a truth in you. So here's how to correct negative self-talk into acceptable positive self-talk. Meet in the middle, right? Be realistic. You're not smart enough for that job can become, there may be some skills that you need to learn, and I trust that you will learn them, right? You're not good enough. You're not good looking enough. Versus, you're stunning, you're the most beautiful person on the planet. You can say, I maybe don't need to care about how I look today. I'm just fine the way I am, and what matters is what's inside. That I can grasp onto, can you? Right? So what we want to look at is neither extreme, the big no's and the big yeses, and go right in the middle and say, you know, how can I support myself in a way that's realistic rather than just fluff, right? So thoughts about that? Does it make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're not calling them we're not calling them affirmations. We're calling them validations. The reason what we're doing that is because we want them to be authentic. We're validating a truth in ourselves, right? And we're going to learn today and do a little exercise in reframing negative self-talk or small s self-talk. Any thoughts before we dive into that? Are there any questions about, like, hi, it's Rachel from Rachel Astarte Holistic Psychotherapy. Stop. Let's talk about self-talk. All right. For a minute. Hang on a second. There we go. Rachel. I don't know why it's continuing to play. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So any thoughts about that, about what was just said in the video, anything that doesn't make sense before we launch into how to actually translate negative self-talk into positive self-talk, or small s self-talk into capital S self-talk? Anybody?
I just actually want to say I love that. I was like actually relieved. When you were like meet in the middle, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I ever think of that? Because, you know, I definitely have been the person with the sticky papers everywhere saying, you know, all of those.
Yeah.
And it's like exhausting. It's actually, for me, exhausting. So this is exciting.
Yeah.
Because
Go ahead.
we all have that authentic meter inside that, and if it doesn't resonate as authentic, then it's just totally rejected. Even as an idea, like even the middle one is kind of rejected. It's kind of thrown out when it hits you as something that's inauthentic. So meeting in the middle just makes it far more accessible.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the gentleness we're looking for when we talk to ourselves, because something worse can happen. If you've got the sticky notes, you're wonderful, you're beautiful, you're successful, and you're not feeling that, you can feel worse than you did before you posted the post-it notes, right? It's like, oh, now I've screwed that up, right? So, right? So
Exactly.
it's
One more thing I've failed at.
yes, yes. Let me just add that to the list of crap that I can't do.
Yes.
Right? So we
Yeah.
want to get rid of that. That's part of the non-judgment, is wherever you are, just be gentle. Just be gentle. And make the little shifts necessary that you need to make. So now let's talk about what that looks like. How do we actually make this shift? So here are 5 steps. Yeah. In order to in order to reach capital S self-talk and or our validations, first of all, be kind. When you talk to yourself, how would you talk to a friend? That was what Lisa was talking about at the beginning. It's so much easier to be non-judgmental of my friends. When, so think about, would I say this to a friend? It's a great question to ask yourself. You piece of shit. Would you say that to a friend, right? Second of all, of course, using non-judgment. That's throughout this entire course, but it's very important that we're not using judgment when we formulate this middle pathway of speaking to ourselves. Number 3, take stock of facts over feelings. So in other words, you've just gotten a new job, you don't feel like you're any good. And again, that's the judgment and the imposter syndrome. You don't think you can do it. That's a feeling. You don't feel you can do it. Look at the facts. The facts are, whatever reason, the people in charge thought you could do it. They are not stupid. They took your resume, they took your experience, they looked at what you've done for the company, and they said, yes, we feel this person is ready to move forward. Now, if there are things that you feel like you're not very strong in, that's where that self-talk comes in and says, well, then I will get secure in those things. I'm working with a client right now who got laid off from his job, spent 6 months looking for work, got another position that's brand new to him, but he's like, well, it occurs to me that I'm going to have to get certified in a couple other skill sets so that I can do this job well, instead of staying in the stuck place of, I can't do this. I can't do this. I've never done this before. Learn how to do it. That's part of the positive self-talk and the quote unquote growth mindset. All right. So look at the facts. Nobody loves me. Really? Look at the facts. Look at the love that has been shown to you that you might have overlooked. Yeah. All right. Number 4, focus on forward movement and progress. In other words, you're looking at, is this thought keeping me stuck where I am, or is it moving me forward? So how can we reframe something that keeps us stuck into something that moves us forward? You're no good at this versus you can get good at this. Go find the classes you need, or the teacher, the tutor, or whatever. Yeah. And number 5, remember your connection to all around you. Remember that when you are generating, this is collective consciousness, quantum field, whatever you want to call it, when you are generating helpful, forward-moving thoughts and validations, that's the energy you're putting out into the universe. So you're not just doing this for you, right? If you stay stuck and clustered into yourself and I'm a terrible person, or I'm no good at this or that, people pick up on that energy. And the reason I put it last is because I don't want this to be the focus, because it's sort of an ancillary bonus part of you speaking well to yourself, is that the world around you also benefits, because your energy changes and therefore the energy around you changes. Any questions? Does anybody need to screenshot that? Go ahead if you want to keep it before I take it off the screen. Okay, beautiful. All right, so now let's dive in. Let's dive into a little exercise. So what I'd like you to do in the next, like, say 3 or 4 minutes, maybe not, you probably don't even need that much time. I'd like you to write at least 3 small s talk items. So 3 negative self-talk items. What are some things that come up that you say to yourself on a regular basis or on a semi-regular basis that are small s self-talk items? Does that make sense? So it could be, you could even go back and use any of the other, if any of those applied for you. You're not good at this, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, right? Or you're too talky, you're too lippy, you're too whatever, okay? So jot down 3 of those. Does anybody need some more time? If you do, that's fine. Okay, everybody have 3? If you need more time, let me know, because in order to do the next step. Yeah.
I just need one more. I just have to. 1 second.
You have to, okay, we'll give
Thank you.
Gloria a second. No worries.
Yeah, 1 more minute.
Okay, 1 more minute. You got it. How are we doing?
Good.
Good. Okay, great. So now, go ahead and revisit these, and you know where this is going. You're going to reframe them. So each one of them, I'd like you to rewrite into a capital S self-talk. Does that make sense? And if you want me to put up the,
Yeah. Can you
The
put the graphic up?
yeah, let me put the graphic back up. Which one do you want? The last one we just saw with the, yeah, okay. Hang on one second. Let me put that back up for you. Okay, there it is. And when you're done, you can just put your hand up so I know you're all done rather than me rushing you.
I am struggling with rephrasing, so I'm done. But
Okay.
I just rephrase one, but we can chat about it. I
Okay,
think.
yeah, we'll help you with that next. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody need more time? Lisa? Oh, one more. Okay. No worries.
Rachel, I just want to say it doesn't bother me at all, but I can hear the music
You can still
again.
hear it?
Yeah, it's on.
I can't hear it.
I can't.
Now it's not.
Okay. That's so strange. I turned it, I closed out the program and everything. But thank you for telling me. Yeah, it doesn't show up on the recording, but maybe because you have headphones on, it's very sensitive.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention because like last time with the meditation, I know we're not meditating, it doesn't bother me at all right now, but I just wanted to tell you because maybe you can notice when it's on or not.
Yeah, that's strange. But you can't hear it now, I hope.
Hold on. No.
Okay, good. Strange. All right. Well, thank you for telling me.
Okay.
All right, beautiful. So We're going to get to you, Gloria, but I'd love to, let's start
Yeah.
with Lisa or Christina, just so we can get a sense of uh, how they've done it. And maybe that might give you some inspiration too, because this is a community. So, all right, who would like to go first?
I can. I'm not sure if I've done it the right way, but this is what I've written down.
Okay.
I had a list of of things. Um, I have no discipline, and it's all related to me not being able to lose weight. It's a feeling, it's not a fact. And so to reframe it, and I don't know whether this is correct, but what I wrote was I need to create a plan that is workable in my current circumstances.
Yeah.
So, because, you know, I'd like to lose 20 pounds just like this, and that's just not realistic. So, and
Right.
I have no discipline to make that happen.
Mhm.
And then another one is I have no memory. I say that, I hear myself say that a lot. And the fact is, I do have a very good memory in some areas. So reframing it, sometimes I am too distracted and don't listen with full attention. Other times I find certain things difficult to remember, for example, numbers, but I can create strategies to help me with that.
Beautiful. Mhm.
Um, and then I also tell myself my brain doesn't work, but that's kind of the memory thing. So, the same sort of reframing. So I'm not sure if that's a clear enough statement, but I'm getting closer, I think.
Yeah. Okay. And that's great. And we're going to work with that in a second, but I like where you're going. Yeah. How does it feel when you read
It's
the reframe?
much nicer. It
All
feels,
right.
much kinder. It feels like, okay, it feels like how I would talk to somebody else. And it's like, yeah, that's not nice what I do to myself.
Yeah.
So I have to change that.
Yeah.
So, and it's counterproductive, you know? So it's just reinforcing stuff that I really don't want to say about myself. And instead of reinforcing what I can do about it, and there are things I can do about it
Hmm.
that are attainable. They're not pie in the sky goals. So
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. Okay. Christina.
Um, I like this exercise, by the way. Um, okay. So one of my small s self-judgments, I don't speak up for myself or stand up for myself for my ideas. Um, and so how I want to reframe that is what I wrote is I can say to the other person, that's fine if you feel that way, but this is how I feel differently, and my way is okay too. Like, as I feel like if I reframe it that way, then it's not like I'm trying to say that other person is wrong. I'm saying we can all have our opinion, but I need to especially say that I have my opinion,
Mm.
because that's what I judge myself for not doing that. So
Right.
that feels like a kinder way it feels like an accessible way for me to speak up for myself. Um, and then my second one was about gaining too much weight, and that I judged myself for that. And I said to turn it, I mean, yes, in fact, my weight gain is not healthy for a menopausal me. So the small ways I could be kinder and loving to myself, um, is okay, add one more serving of greens per day, and add only one exercise per day, instead of saying, oh my God, I better get on that, elliptical for an hour, and then of course I don't do that. So start simple. So that feels like a kinder reframe. And then my last one, is I with my work, I'm not keeping up with what everybody's doing out there. And I do have to take trainings once a year, but sometimes taking additional trainings, it's exhausting. It's a lot of time and money. So my reframe is, okay, just once a month, for example, take a 1 hour class with a teacher I like online. Like it doesn't have to be, oh, I have to fly to California and study for a week with so and so to be up to date, like so.
Yeah. Yeah. Much. So how did that feel for you reframing?
Very feels really good to say, wait, take it down from being up here and unattainable to here, kind, attainable. Like, eating an extra serving of broccoli every day. That's like attainable. Like that's being nice. I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. That's respectful, right? It's like, this is where I am. This is what I can do. Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thank you. I like this exercise. I feel like I'm gonna do this about everything.
Well, yeah. And when we get really good at it, we do it automatically because, again, we have to be, again, with the non-judgment, we're going to have those moments where we feel like poop, where we feel like, eh, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not this, I should be that. And this is what we do automatically in our minds. Hang on a second. How can I reframe this so that it's more helpful? Right? It is helpful to write it down, but that's just for this exercise. When you get really good at it, you do it in the moment. Like, listen to what you're saying. What's a better way to say this, right? Yeah. Okay, Gloria, let's hear it. Thank you, Christina. What have you got to share?
Yeah, so I put first, I have a big belly, and then I reframe it. I have some belly fat, but nothing crazy. Like I know, like, oh, if I will talk to a friend, I will say like, you don't have a like, or maybe I will say this, like I'll be like realistic and honest, but not like, yeah, I just be like, it's nothing crazy. It's not that bad, kind of. Then the other one I put, I look horrible on pictures, and I didn't know how to reframe that. Um, Sometimes when I'm working and I have like BTS people, and then I see the BTS, and I'm like, I look horrible in all the pictures. I cannot post anything. It's like all the time I'm like looking at the phone. You can see my double chin, like I'm not smiling, all serious, and then you see other people's like just enjoying themselves working. And I'm like, so that's how I judge all of myself, especially on those photos. And I didn't know how to reframe it. Because I think it has to do something like why do I think like everybody else looks fine but me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that comparison thing.
Mm.
Yeah. Ladies, let's open the floor. What are some ways that Gloria might reframe I look terrible in pictures? And it might help to think of yourself too. What might you say to yourself? I think we've all gone through that moment where it's like, I looked like shit in these pictures.
Yeah.
How would you reframe it?
Um, I mean, it's funny. I actually feel that way about myself. I never post anything. And I was just thinking like, wow, how could Gloria feel that way? She's so beautiful. I think you're very beautiful.
Yeah.
And I truly do not see a double chin anywhere, but I get how you might.
Should I put my profile better? Thank you for your words, but
It's fine if it's your opinion. It's your opinion. I don't have that opinion about you. Um, but I don't know how to reframe it. I think this is important because I feel this way. I say, wow, I used to look good. And now in photos, I'm like, who is that person? So um, I'm sorry I feel the way. I'm sorry you feel that way. So does anybody else have any good suggestions?
I'm I don't know either. Really I hate having my photo taken. And I have one friend who has practiced for years with selfies and he knows how to take good photos. And so when I'm with him, I will take photos and they're the only photos of me that I ever like because he seems to have, the way of doing it. But I think we're kind of getting away from the point. Just by the way, the double chin, if you have your if you lift your camera a little bit higher, like set your laptop higher for those things, you don't see that. But I agree with Christina. I think you're really beautiful. And you know, and I could list the features, but I think that's really getting away from what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, this is
So
for
I
glory.
don't know how, yeah, I don't know how to reframe it because I
Okay.
have the same, I would like to know.
Okay. So remember going back to what the previous slide, right? So I will bring it back up again. Just so that you can have a look and when the facts over feelings, right? What are the facts? What does it matter? What does it matter? Right? You remember your connection to all around you, right? And in that little video clip, right? And again, using non-judgment, being kind. Sometimes when we have negative self-talk or small f self-talk, we really have to question the validity of the statement at all. There are statements that are just that have no place, right? I don't like what I look like in photos. You can say to yourself, until I do, I won't pose in any photos. But that's something I want to work on. I need to get to a point where I just don't care. In the video that we just watched, there's maybe it doesn't matter what I look like. Maybe what matters is this. Maybe what they're going to see is my energy in the photo. Maybe what they're going to pick up on is, you know, maybe I should stop thinking about myself for a second and let this be a group photo that encapsulates the moment in time that we're capturing, which is all of us working together or all of us playing together. That's what matters, right? So a reframe of that might be, it doesn't matter what I look like in a photograph. What matters is who I am and what I'm bringing to my people.
Yeah.
Let's move away from the small s and move into the capital S.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
So even when, remember, we're doing this, yes, like, okay, yeah. I mean, there have been times that I think I told you this last week when I didn't even want to do videos for my practice, like the one you just saw, because I'm in my 50s. I don't look as beautiful as I did in my 30s. And everybody's going to look at me and go like, old therapist, you know? And then I thought to myself, I don't care. I just don't care. That's not why I'm doing this. This is not a beauty contest. I'm representing what I believe in. So Gloria, you are who you are. You are a spirit being. You are a soul being. This is the temple for that soul. It's irrelevant what it looks like, you know? When I think about, like, look at the Dalai Lama. He's not exactly a runway model. But we love to look at him because he's so happy, because he makes us feel good, because his energy is good, right? So a reframe for that might be, who gives a shit what I look like in photos? I'm bigger than that,
Yeah.
right? People are
And
not going to remember how I look. They're going to remember my energy.
yeah.
Right.
And other people's looks mean nothing to me.
Exactly.
You know, it's just who they are and the energy that they bring. So let's just assume that's how we all feel, really.
Yeah, 100%.
I
So does that
I don't choose my friends according to their looks.
exactly.
I don't spend time with people according to their looks, you know. So
Now, realistically, I get it, Gloria. You used to be a model. You are going through a shift in your life. And so it's very easy to compare yourself. I used to be an actor. And I kept myself looking exactly the way I was supposed to look. Da, 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 da. But when we constantly judge ourselves for what we were compared to what we are, and this is for women and men to some extent too, we're judging ourselves based on how we looked 20, 30 years ago. We are missing out on the beauty of what we are. And I remember someone telling me many years ago, in 30 years from now, you're going to wish you look like you do now.
Oh,
You
5
know,
years from now, you know.
yeah, exactly. Or
I look
whatever.
at photos from 5 years ago that I thought were horrible. It's like, look pretty good. And that's the
Yeah,
best.
exactly.
I keep saying to people, this is the best you're gonna, probably the best you're gonna look right now. So just go with
Yeah.
it.
And your energy transcends all of that, all of
Yeah.
it. And also when we feel bad about ourselves, it shows because we're frowning, we're hunched, whereas we can even just change our feeling about ourselves, right? And that can change how we come across to others as well. That's part of our beauty as well, or our whatever, there's lots of kinds of beauty. Yeah. Go ahead.
I just have to go. I have a doctor's appointment in 10
Okay.
minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna in 10 minutes. Do you have to leave the house?
You actually leave. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm about to switch over to the homework anyway, so you'll see the
Okay.
replay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Lisa.
Bye.
Thank you, Lisa.
Lisa.
Bye.
Okay. So, Gloria, did that help a little bit?
Yes, I think I will you say this is just a mindset like that I have to like practice, like who gives a fuck, because like I say, when I see other people's pictures, it's like, like she looks exactly like good, like normal to me. It's not like she's prettier than me. Like I think like she's a normal person. She looks normal in the picture, but I just look horrible, like, so it's like it's not like, even I'm not comparing myself with a bikini girl, like within the crew members, like everyone looks the way that I look at them in the photos, but I look horrible in the photos. So like it will be a practice of mindset of like, I need to tell myself or just believe myself, like who gives a fuck, or like how can I change that, just like the mindset.
Yeah, and remember, people aren't looking at you the way you're looking at yourself, and maybe they themselves feel like they look like crap, but they have their smile on, but they just be like, oh, so we don't know what's going on through other people's minds, right? So, yeah. Okay, beautiful.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And it is a practice, 100%. Okay, so let's do the homework invitation for this week. This is a little bit, less. Oops, let me move that over. Okay. Just pay attention this week. Pay attention to your self-talk, engage with it out loud when you can. Out loud is always helpful. Try to have at least one dialogue with your highest self based on that. If something comes up, like, you've done or said something that you're not happy with, right? Then have a little dialogue. Wait a minute, how can we reframe that? What's really going on? What do you need in this moment? How can I help you? Right? How can we help you to open this up from being small s self to capital S self? And then a journal prompt is, maybe you'll want to do this closer to the end of the week, but how did using those validations of yourself, the capital S self-talk, how did that influence your mindset and your self-perception this week? Right? Did anything shift for you? And it may be something very small, like Christina might add some broccoli and then go like, I did that thing. Now I feel good, I feel better. And I know that my body is being nourished, and that's what matters, right? This temple for my soul is being nourished, and your body will respond. A lot of this is neurological too, the way that we feel about ourselves becomes the way we think about ourselves, right? So nourishing your body helps you to think better and feel better. And of course, as always, don't forget the weekly coaching call on Friday. Right? Any questions about the homework invitation?
Yes, can you elaborate a little bit more on the number 2? Have at least one dialogue with your highest self. It's yes, just give
Yeah,
me
so
an example.
as you're, let's say, throughout the week, some small s self-talk comes up, like, oh, you're so stupid, or oh, you idiot, begin to talk to your highest self and say, wait a minute, I'm reframing that. Am I an idiot? And your highest self goes, of course you're not an idiot. What are you though? What are you? Well, I didn't manage that moment very well. Okay, you didn't manage the moment well. How might you do it differently next time? This is a dialogue with your highest self. It's almost it literally is self-talk, but it's in a dialogue format. Does that make sense?
Yes, but if I don't know, if nothing comes up during the week, is there a way to do this dialogue without, should I do an exercise instead or something?
Well, if you can get through the whole week without one negative thought about yourself, then bless you, you probably don't need this class. But
no,
that,
like it's my life is very chill. Like I work from home, I don't see people. This week probably I have just have one meeting, so it's just like sometimes nothing happens. But let's see. Okay.
all right, well then you could also use it for judgment. Check yourself. If you're having meetings and there's some asshole on the call and you're judging that person, you could do a self-talk in that way. You can do a highest self-talk, like, wait a minute, are you judging that person? What about that guy? Why do I hate that guy? Because he interrupts, because he's this or that. Well, what do you think he's going through right now? Oh, well, maybe that. Why do you think he is that way? Just the inquiry, right? That we've been practicing from week one, right?
Okay.
So whether it's about you, it could be about someone else, right? But I really
Okay.
encourage you to look at how you are talking to yourself. You'd be surprised. You think, hey, my life's chill. How many times we kick our own ass throughout the week and we're so used to it that we don't recognize we're even doing it. That's how embedded it is.
I'm gonna pay more attention because maybe I haven't paid a lot of attention, and I will be surprised. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you guys.
Thank you. See you Friday.
See you Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.